Okay, welcome everyone. Grab your beverage of choice and maybe keep the antacids within reach because we need to talk about the election platform nonsense. I'm Nick, your host.
I'm Rio.
And I'm German.
And yes, it is nonsense. Not because policy doesn't matter, but because apparently nobody got the memo that elections aren't supposed to be a surprise party. Let me tell you why that's bullshit. The Liberals dropped their platform on Easter weekend, you know, the sacred time when Canadians are traditionally reading 65 pages of policy PDFs over chocolate bunnies and awkward brunches with their in-laws. And the Conservatives held out even longer, waiting until Wednesday, April 26th, aka the literal last possible moment to publish theirs. Not a soft launch, not a leak, just surprise, here's our entire vision for the country. Hope you can read fast. Seriously, how are we supposed to engage meaningfully with platforms they clearly didn't want us to read? This isn't a group project, it's a national election. And treating voters like we're the kid you remember after the PowerPoint's already been emailed to the teacher, that's not leadership, that's disrespect. So in this episode, we're going to break it all down. Not just what they're saying, but what they're hiding, who they're blaming, and why some of this reads like fanfic. You're going to hear the vibes and voices straight from the source. We've got conservative promises to lock up criminals and cut red tape like it's 1995, and Jean Chrétien just got a modem. Liberal manifestos about sovereignty and shadows, and bold decorations like if America won't lead, Canada will. Okay, Carney, calm down. We're still using fax machines in some government offices. So let's dive in.
We have some very strong opinions and ideas, and I think we'll probably state those opinions now.
Talk about polls like we always do for our last segment, because they're also making me really nervous, and I don't like that. So there you are. Share screen. Okay, I like bringing up the map. So since the leadership debate, a couple interesting things has happened. The Conservatives are the same. German and I have talked a lot this week about just the Conservatives like basically having their vote. And they're right at that threshold of, according to CBC Poll Tracker, which is, again, reminder, average polls, newer ones are weighted heavier than older ones. They're at 38.3%, which is in a normal election, Conservative majority territory. But we've kind of seen the collapse of both the Bloc and the NDP. But since the debate, what we've seen is a few upticks in the NDP and the Bloc in Quebec. Blanchette did a really good job in that debate, I think, of convincing Quebecers of sovereignty and the need for his voice. That's kind of normal. That didn't surprise me. What I'm concerned about, and I kind of want to get what you guys think, and if you have the same concerns, is this NDP number, because polls always underestimate the NDP. And I think this is because the NDP are really, really good at mobilizing on the ground. So if we look historically over polls over the last, basically forever, as long as I've been alive, the NDP's always outperform the polls. And right now, with these kinds of numbers, basically the Liberals are really needing to rely on the strategic vote, ABC, anything but conservative, which has been working. Pre-debate, the Liberals were projected to win 196 seats. You need 172 for a majority. And right now, it's sort of the BC where people are looking at it and going, what's going to happen out in BC? That's where they're mobilizing. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Anything could happen out there. Singh is kind of looking at losing his seat to a conservative because him and the Liberals battling it out. And what happens when a Liberal and a conservative battle it out? The Conservatives come right up the middle and take the seat. So even though I think it'd be really funny for the leader of the NDP to lose their seat to a conservative, now is not the time to like please my humor side. So like, what do you guys think? Do you think I'm like overreacting to this NDP thing? Like, do you think the numbers are, because they're at 8%, 8.4%, but that's up since the debate.
So I got.
Sorry, I'll just one last thing. Or is this just like a few NDP supporters are like, oh, the Liberals totally have it bagged. I'm going to go back.
So my opinion is that I think the NDP is kind of doomed, and this is from I'm pulling this off of Reddit. It's a screenshot from Abacus. Among people who have already voted in the advanced polls, the Liberals already have a 7-point lead over the Conservatives at 43%, Conservatives at 36%, NDP at 11%, and Bloc at 6%. And then there's another poll. Who was this? Nanos. This was 14 hours ago. Again, Reddit, favorite place to go grab stuff. NDP was at 7.7%, Liberal at 44%, and Conservative at 38.5%. So I feel like it's still overwhelmingly likely that the Liberal Party is going to win. To the extent, good question. But I don't think that the NDP is really going to rally as hard as you think. And my opinion is mostly just based on the fact that normally I would see at least a few NDP signs in Southeast Calgary, but I haven't seen any.
They're liberal this time, aren't they?
They're all liberal. And it's really weird because I'm in a part of the town that's very, very conservative. And I was driving home and I was like, whoa, that's a big liberal sign, not just a little lawn sign. That was a big one. Right?
Do you think so? We're in Calgary, which we don't like to dox ourselves, but I think people have figured that out by now. So it's really interesting to see people in Calgary putting up red Tory signs.
Yeah. It's really weird. And I don't know, I feel I've never seen an election where that's happened more than this one, which is very strange, but also part of me is I guess things can change. Weird.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring those things up because I met a guy who is the son of the NDP candidate in my riding. And
don't dox yourself that far.
And I didn't and I said I see no NDP signs around the neighborhood. And he said to me his dad is technically saying, I don't feel like I need to campaign because I'm probably not going to win, let alone do well. I said, well, at least give a bit of actually do decent. Actually put the signs up. People vote for you. If they see you, they might just vote for you anyway.
That's actually pretty normal for Calgary.
It's pretty normal for Calgary for sure. And then he convinced his dad, and his dad has tons of signs now around the community.
But it's amazing what happens, right? In my riding, which is near Rios, where we live really close together.
We're literally next door ridings now.
Yeah, super conservative. Well-known guy in my riding. I hate him. But he only won by 1,500 votes. And that NDP guy was hardcore going out. I know he came to my door and I just opened my door and I said, you already have my vote. Go talk to my neighbors. Go talk to the guy across the street. I know he's super conservative. But things are changing a little bit, I think. And I think that red Tory thing helps, right? Rachel Notley's NDP are not Singh's NDP by any stretch of the imagination, which is why they're the official opposition in Alberta, right? So I kind of almost wonder how much that Mark Carney dynamic is playing into. There's 3 signs on my street for Liberals, and I know in the last provincial election, all 3 of those people had obnoxiously UCP signs up. So it's quite strange.
The thing about the NDP, it's that right now it's the struggle between voting anything but conservative, because the problem, we talked before, is that if you vote the NDP, you're technically splitting the left vote.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue right now that a lot of people are struggling with. To be honest, I don't trust polls anyway at the best of times, because they kind of don't really tell something's the whole story on election night. But at the same time, these polls are good kind of gauge, but the NDP could be almost wiped out. They say, right, if they could get from 2 to 13 seats, which is almost technically being wiped out.
Well, you need 12 to be an official party, right, in Canada.
So technically, if they get if Singh loses his seat potentially,
he's toast if he loses that seat. And still might be if he doesn't.
if he loses a seat, technically the others might fall as well, right? So like I think that is going to be if he's starting to pull really behind, that's a problem for the NDP because that's going to be a big issue. You can't even vote for that leader, right?
Yeah, it's quite telling. And like I said, it's in danger right now of the Conservative coming up the middle, which any riding that has had Singh as their representative for as many years as he's been in Parliament obviously won't be happy with a Poilievre Conservative.
No, and they're projecting like very low numbers for the NDP anyway right now. Like it could be 2 to 13. So it's like, yikes, right?
Yeah.
It's like pretty much non-party status, right? And like the Liberals could be as high, pretty high anyway, like 200 over seats. Like that's crazy, right?
I'm
I don't
scared
know.
enough of Poilievre that I'm fine with it.
But it's just I'm just saying like it's just very, 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 very crazy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think that's a good place to leave it because I know I'm exhausted. All I've been thinking about is politics all week. So unless you guys have anything to add, we'll say goodbye and keep checking the YouTube channel. I haven't read the comments, but if either of you two are interested in reading comments, I saw today there was like 10 comments on one video. And I was like, nope. But it does speak good for engagement. I was engaging with a young Gen Z fellow on our comments who quite seems to like you, German, even though he was like, I am voting Conservative. I'm hoping that he'll write me back because I was curious to know, how we did in terms of talking about culture. So if you guys haven't checked that out, go check out our conversation on the
Thanks,
Gen
fan.
Z vote. On this Gen Z vote. But what I wanted to know is how close we were, but also like why he was feeling that way. And I was like, no judgment, but like could you tell me why? So I'm kind of hoping he'll write back. But yeah, if either of you are interested in checking out comments, do like, subscribe. We're going to keep having these conversations. Try to remember we are people behind the camera. For my own mental health, I had to stop looking at Facebook comments and YouTube comments, but we will try to keep up with you guys. We're on Blue Sky where we're getting a lot of engagement right now. So you can check us out there. You can also check out our website, bsexplained.com, where we have a lot of articles up, including some neutral articles that go more in depth into the platforms. So until next week, we'll see you in the next one.
And I'll just quickly say, Nicole, before we sign off, I'll just say, like, honestly, remember to be constructive when you do those comments, because I think that's where the discussion comes through. And that's the most important thing, right? Like, it's important to be educated, but at the same time, be constructive. And like Nicole said, we're people. And so, yeah, you can criticize policy, but don't criticize people.
That's a good, and don't be sexist. I'm tired of seeing sexist comments. There was one that I deleted this week. I don't know if you saw it or not, German. But they were like criticizing me on something and saying like how awesome you were, and I was like, the thing you're talking about, literally, I said my piece, and then German was like, yeah, I totally agree because blah blah blah. And so like, just stop being sexist. That would also be great. Let's just have a conversation, an open conversation about these policies, because keeping it focused on policy in times like this is really important.
Yeah, and don't criticize people. That's the big one, right? Criticize the policies. And like I said, if you don't like it, that's fine. But at the same time, we're not here to impress people either.
Okay, guys. We'll see you in a week or two.
Take care. Bye.